What if the most influential empire in history had never collapsed? What if the Western Roman Empire had endured, shaping the modern world with its laws, culture, and centralized power? Today, we'll explore a world where Rome never fell, where the course of human history unfolds in profoundly different ways. The consequences might surprise you, inspire you, or even unsettle you. Let's dive in. The fall of the Roman Empire wasn't just the end of a political entity, it was the end of a unifying force for Europe. Without that collapse, the fragmented kingdoms of the Middle Ages would never emerge. Instead, we'd see a centralized government presiding over millions, enforcing Roman law and maintaining infrastructure. Imagine a world without feudal lords, knights, or castles. Instead, sprawling Roman cities with orderly streets, aqueducts, and forums could define the landscape. Democracy, however, might have taken a back seat. The Roman Empire wasn't exactly a beacon of representative government, but it was efficient, at least in its prime. This enduring empire might have evolved into a bureaucratic superstate where governance relied on meritocracy or imperial decree. Would that have been better than the slow, often chaotic evolution of democracy we've seen? It's hard to say. Economically, the Roman Empire was already experimenting with systems that could have evolved into early forms of capitalism or socialism. Their trade networks spanned continents, their coinage was standardized, and their state-controlled grain distribution was a lifeline for millions. Without the upheavals of the Dark Ages and the Renaissance, economic systems might have developed under continuous Roman oversight. Imagine capitalism shaped by Roman pragmatism, where the state played an active role in regulating trade and protecting workers. Or perhaps socialism might have emerged earlier, inspired by Roman practices like the annona. Would this create a more equitable society, or one locked in endless state control? The possibilities are fascinating. Human rights, as we understand them today, are largely a product of Enlightenment thinking, shaped by centuries of social and philosophical evolution. But the Romans already had a concept of ius naturale, natural law. It was the idea that some laws are universal, stemming from human nature itself. In a world where Rome never fell, human rights might have emerged earlier, but in a different form. Instead of being seen as inalienable, they might have been tied to civic duty. This raises an unsettling question. Could this framework have created a more disciplined society, or one where freedom was forever limited by the needs of the state? The survival of the Roman Empire would have had profound effects on religion and culture. Christianity, which became Rome's official religion, would likely remain dominant. But with a unified empire, would the Great Schism between Eastern Orthodoxy and Roman Catholicism ever occur? Or would a single church rule unchallenged, integrating elements of Roman governance into its hierarchy? Latin, too, would retain its dominance, becoming not just the language of scholarship, but the everyday tongue of the masses. Imagine a world where Latin never gave way to French, Spanish, or Italian, a world where even modern technology might bear Latin names. Would this linguistic unity lead to greater cultural cohesion, or stifle the diversity that gives human creativity its spark? The fall of Rome ushered in the so-called Dark Ages, a period of stagnation in Europe. Without that collapse, scientific and technological progress might have continued uninterrupted. Roman engineering, combined with Greek scientific inquiry, could have accelerated innovations we didn't see until much later. Imagine steam power harnessed centuries earlier, perhaps under the guidance of Roman engineers. Would the Industrial Revolution have started in the 10th century instead of the 18th? Or would the empire's centralized structure stifle innovation, preferring stability over risk? Progress, after all, often thrives on disruption. An enduring Roman Empire wouldn't just reshape Europe, it would transform the entire globe. North Africa, already part of the empire, might have become a hub of cultural and economic activity, blending Roman and African traditions. In the Americas, exploration might have been delayed or undertaken under Roman banners. Would indigenous cultures have been treated differently under Roman law than under European colonialism? Or would Rome's pragmatic, often brutal approach to conquest prevail? And what of Asia? The Silk Road would likely thrive under Roman protection, fostering earlier cultural exchanges. Perhaps Roman and Chinese philosophies would blend, creating entirely new systems of thought. Rome's reliance on slavery was one of its darkest aspects. If the empire had survived, would it have abolished slavery earlier, perhaps under the influence of Christianity? Or would it have found new ways to justify forced labor, integrating it into an evolving economic system? Citizenship, too, would have been a powerful tool. Rome's inclusive approach, offering citizenship to those who adopted its ways, might have created a more unified global identity. But would this inclusivity come at the cost of local cultures and traditions? Fast forward to today, what would a modern Roman Empire look like? Would it be a utopia of unity and progress, or a dystopia of centralized control? Would the empire's values, discipline, order, and civic duty create a stable world? Or would they suppress individuality and freedom? One thing is certain, the world would be unrecognizable. Our languages, governments, technologies, and even our identities would all be shaped by the long shadow of Rome. History isn't just about what happened, it's about what could have happened. The fall of Rome reminds us how fragile civilizations can be. But imagining a world where it never fell forces us to ask deeper questions about power, progress, and human potential. So what do you think? Would a never-fallen Rome have brought us closer to perfection, or further from it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And remember, the past isn't set in stone. It's alive in the stories we tell and the questions we ask. Until next time, Valette, stay curious.